Hello, my name is Tony. Abide with me, dear viewer, as this Yuletide season I explore a grim and haunting little tale of the supernatural, one that sprang forth from the distinguished pen of the great Charles Dickens, and was adapted by the BBC for an episode of their once annually screened series, A Ghost Story for Christmas. See, when I were a lad, each festive season from 71 to 78, you could rely on a BBC Ghost Story for Christmas to provide a brief but welcome alternative to the craptastic light entertainment tinsel and turkey smorgasbord of testicle shrivelling Yuletide programming. But then, realising they were producing shows that were far too good for the likes of me, they stopped making them. Let them eat Christmas cake, they said, and just that. Realising their mistake, which only took 26 years, they started making them again. Too late, I fear, because it wasn't quite the same. Will they never learn? Doctor Who, anyone? The series kicked off in 1971 with an adaptation of the M.R. James story The Stalls of Barchester. 4 further James-based episodes appeared yearly until 1976. A Warning to the Curious, 1972, Lost Hearts, 1973, The Treasure of Abbot Thomas, 1974, and The Ash Tree, 1975. James' work was then elbowed in favour of Chuck Dickens for The Signalman in 1976. 2 more episodes followed. Stigma in 1977 and The Ice House in 1978 were original screenplays by Clive Exton and John Bowen respectively. Then, in true BBC fashion, with no explanation to the licence fee paying public who, lest we forget, are their bread and butter and whom they routinely treat with ill-concealed contempt, they stopped making them. Typical, something I like and enjoy, taken away without a by your leave, how's your father, or see you next Tuesday. I hate the BBC, always been right bastards. But wait, in 2005 they kicked it off again, resurrected it with an adaptation of another James story, A View from a Hill, carried on in 2006 with yet another James dramatisation of Number 13. Fuck all until 2010, a 4-year hiatus. Then there was a Mark Gatiss written and directed teleplay of James the Tractate Midoff. The quality by this point had become as inconsistent and unpredictable as the likelihood of them appearing every single year. It's a will they won't they situation now, and judging by the banal standard of the most recent offerings, I don't much care anymore if they do or they don't. The 70s heyday saw the series at its best, and the best entry in that run, closely followed by Lost Hearts naturally, was The Signalman. It goes like this. Whilst out rambling through the countryside, a gentleman of leisure known only as the Traveller, Bernard Lloyd, is intrigued by a railway signal box positioned at the mouth of a train tunnel. The line runs along the bottom of a steeply banked cutting where it is dark, dank and sunless. The box is managed by one lone attendant, known only as the Signalman, Denham Elliot. The Traveller calls down to the Signalman to attract his attention. "Hello! Below there!" As he does so, he shields his eyes from the sun with one arm, whilst waving with the other. After making his way down the rough path to the line, he finds the Signalman regarding him with fearful trepidation. He reassures the man, introducing himself and informing that he's just after some conversation, and is curious about the Signalman's work. In the signal box they sit by the fireside and chat. The Signalman's job is one of long hours spent alone, and he passes the time by trying to teach himself mathematics from textbooks. He is regretful of neglecting his education in his youth. The Signalman is nervous, jumpy, distracted by a silver danger bell that sporadically lets out a high-pitched ringing tone that only he can hear. The Traveller is oblivious to the sound. As night falls, the Traveller makes to leave. Before he does, he queries why the Signalman was so distressed when he first saw him. The Signalman suggests he return the following evening when he's back on duty, and he will explain. He asks him not to call out when he arrives. The Traveller doesn't understand why, but agrees. Back at the inn where he is staying, the Traveller has a nightmare involving the Signalman telling him not to call out, and the silver danger bell making a vibrating ringing sound, whilst the signal light by the tunnel tunnel entrance bathes the place red. The next night, fog has set in. The traveller returns to the signal box where the signalman explains his fearful reaction the previous day. On 2 prior occasions, he has seen a shrouded spectre stood by the red signal light beside the tunnel. The spectre shields its face with one arm whilst waving with the other and calling out, "Below there! Look out! Look out!" Activities the traveller unknowingly mimicked on his arrival. The first appearance of the spectre preceded a train collision in the tunnel, resulting in much injury and death. The second, a young bride, Karina Wyeth, fell or was pushed to her death from a speeding train. The spectre has returned at odd times over the past week, assumedly a portent of a forthcoming disaster, and along with its appearance, the danger bell has been ringing. Disturbed and frustrated by these events, the signalman cannot report an impending disaster with no rational reason for doing so. He would be considered mad. The traveller advises that all he can do is carry on as normal and do his job, perform his duty, whilst remaining as calm as possible. He agrees to visit again the next day. That night, the traveller is once more plagued by unsettling dreams. The next day, as he walks through the countryside towards the location of the signal box, he hears a ghostly vibrato ringing sound, the danger bell. He starts to run. At the tunnel, the signalman sees the spectre again. He walks along the line until he is closer. The spectre's arm lowers to reveal a face like a pale death mask. The traveller watches helplessly from above as the signalman is hit by an oncoming locomotive. The engine driver, Reginald Jessup, tells the traveller how he saw the signalman stood on the tracks, and when he failed to react or move in response to the train whistle, waved and called out to him. When asked how he waved and what he shouted, the driver demonstrates how he shielded his eyes with one arm, waved with the other, and called out, "Hello, below there, look out!" When it came to playing nervy, neurotic Englishmen, no one was better than Denham Elliot. Portraying a twitchy wreck of a man with low self-esteem, quite literally a haunted character, was right up his street, and his meticulously jittery performance here is ideal. It's essentially a two-hander, a dialogue between him and Bernard Lloyd, who is just as convincing as the inquisitive, jaunty and sympathetic traveller. The key performances are better than fine. Luckily, the script by Andrew Davis, prolific teleplay veteran, although brisk and efficient, allows enough space for the two characters to establish themselves within the story. What also helps is the economical but creatively astute direction of Lawrence Gordon Clark, with use of slow and creepy camera work, zoom-in shots from inside the tunnel itself, augmented by some very effective sound design. A framework of doomy atmospherics is quickly established. The location is ideal visual nightmare fuel, Severn Valley Railway as it happens. A damp, shadowy cut-in where the sunlight doesn't penetrate, and all is billowing locomotive steam, swirling mist, abrupt shrieking train whistles, jangling vibrating bells, and a sickly red glow cast by the signal lamp. It's a trap, of course, for the signalman, who relates to the traveller how in his younger days, when on a break he would climb to the top of the cut-in. Even though he was in the sunlight, could feel the sun on his face, his mind was still back in the lonely signal box. Such was the gravity he attributed to his responsibilities. It was no respite. In the end, he no longer bothered. Just stayed his entire shift down in the cut-in in the signal box by the tunnel. There are some minor alterations to Dickens' original story, but by and large it's a faithful if condensed retelling. Davis applies extra layers of ambiguity by giving the traveller nightmares about the cutting and having his expression on witnessing the signalman's death replicate to an extent that on the face of the spectre. Also in Dickens' short story, the traveller doesn't witness the signalman's death personally. The events are reported to him by a railway inspector, and the bride doesn't fall from the train but dies in a carriage. I think the changes are respectful improvements, enhancements in fact. They work well for dramatic purposes in the context of the TV medium. Long-standing channel subscriber and supporter David told me it was, and I quote, my single favourite adaptation of a short story, which set me to thinking, yes, and there are good reasons for that. It's been done with care, thought, and a deep appreciation for the source, and it's surprising how rare that is. So what's going on here all told? For the Signalman, it is a foretelling, foreshadowing premonition of his own death ultimately. Were the previous events coincidental then? The genesis and nature of the Signalman's experiences remains ambiguous, whilst the outcome does not, for he does indeed die. That's concrete enough. Is it perhaps a setup by the Grim Reaper to coordinate his demise, or a well-meaning but poorly communicated psychic warning from unknown messengers, so that he is afforded some chance to avoid his fate? If so, it fails by proving to be too obscure and cryptic for him to decipher. Is he blessed with a gift or curse of precognition? Is there any ghost or haunting at all? Or just feverish constructs in a susceptible mind, shadows that later take root in the unsettling dreams of the traveller, implanted by suggestion and association? There is no explanation other than which we, the viewer, choose to apply, and there it remains. If you were to ask what I think, not that anyone ever has, and I doubt you are any different, but as this is my show, I'll indulge my own conceits and I'll tell you anyway. Backed up by prior events, the tunnel collision, the death of the blushing bride, I'd say the Signalman has an unhealthy dose of precognition up in him, affording him glimpses of future calamity which he interprets as omens represented by ragged phantom manifestations. Each event, though, is not the main event, which is ultimately his own demise. Spiritual mediums were very popular in Victorian times. Traditionally, they seek to justify the validity of their so-called gift by saying they can't use it for their own personal gain or to foresee their own futures. The no-gain bit is bullshit, because they charge hapless dupes for their services. They don't perform their dog and pony acts for free, chum. Hence exploitation for personal financial gain. But what if some element of the inability to foretell or comprehend one's own destiny rings true herein? Blind to one's own fate, if you will. I don't know, pilgrims. You decide. However you interpret it, it's a classic piece of British 70s TV artistry. Lovely wood fire crackling, fog-bound shadow-draped supernatural mood piece. What I really like about it, and the rest of the Ghost Story for Christmas outings, is they provided a palate-cleansing sorbet to elegantly cut through the bloated saccharine overload of seasonal programming. An antidote to all those horrible shows imposing the TV station commissioners, planners and controller's idea of fun and entertainment upon you. The spirit of Christmas as seen through a darker, more distorted lens. And the Signalman was a zinger. Best of the bunch. Thank you for your time and attention. Feel free to do whatever you choose to do next. Hit like, don't like, comment, subscribe, check out my early access Patreon thing, or even make a welcome financial contribution via the thanks button. Have a very Merry Christmas, and with luck and fate on my side, I'll be back with something else in the new year. I wish you all that you wish yourselves, and trust that it's all good stuff. Farewell, pilgrims. With a smoke and a bottle, I travel full throttle into some kind of perilous shit, where nothing seems real and the pain that I feel doesn't bother me one little bit. And it's funny how drinking turns me to thinking of you dressed in silver and white. Now I can't help but grieve for the last Christmas Eve, when you kissed me and held me so tight. Hugs and kisses, Christmas wishes, years to your health. Have a Merry Christmas, the very Christmas you'd wish for yourself. But the war isn't over just yet, where eagles keep daring as I sit just staring at the screen. seen. Your smile melts in here and it's like you're still there, until I snap out of the dream. Hugs and kisses, Christmas wishes, here's to your health. Have a Merry Christmas, the very Christmas you'd wish for yourself. There's a party in my street. In a moment I might up and go, but I can't shake the lead from my feet, or face walking alone in the snow. Now I'm drinking to you the times that I knew you, and all of those Christmases past, as if I need a reason, like some festive season, to fill up and raise up a glass. I'm raising the bar now, wherever you are now. I hope that you're happy that way, that maybe you're smiling every once in a while. Spare a thought for me this Christmas Day. Hugs and kisses, Christmas wishes, here's to your health. Have a Merry Christmas, the very Christmas you wish for yourself, for yourself. You wish for yourself. Hugs and kisses, Christmas wishes, here's to your health.